Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And this will be part 2 to the series that I started. And in part 1, I gave my reasons why T-Mobile may be the choice of carrier for you. And I'll leave that video in the description down below if you haven't seen it, if you're new to this video. Well, in part 2, I'm going to be giving my reasons why T-Mobile may not be the choice of carrier for you. So the first reason why T-Mobile may not be the choice of carrier for you is coverage. You may live in a town or travel, commute to work where T-Mobile just does not have coverage. That is 100% still the case in 2021 going into 2022, where you travel to or commute to a constant area, whether it be work or visiting relatives, and T-Mobile just doesn't cut it, whether it be no coverage at all or they have a roaming agreement on a partner network that just doesn't meet your needs. Yes, at least you have something, but it may only be good enough to maybe make a call and text, but you can't do anything else. You can't send emails. There's just no throughput, or enough throughput, I should say, to normally use your device how you would use it in T-Mobile's native coverage. So that's reason number one. And I think that's a big reason. That's a huge reason. That reason plays into reliability. Not having coverage, I mean, there's no reliability in that. What if you break down on the side of the road and you need to call a tow truck or roadside assistance? So they're not having coverage also is a negative towards reliability. So that is what I think most people are concerned with. The average consumer that's really just very basic, not really wireless enthusiasts, they usually, or I would say 9 times out of 10, they choose reliability over anything. They want to be able to call, they want to be able to text, they just want their phone to work wherever they go. And it's up to the carrier to provide that reliability. And in this case, that's the reason T-Mobile in 2021, or going towards the end of 2021 into 2022, may still not be the choice of carrier for you. So that's the first reason. I think that's a big reason. I think if there's anybody that could give any reasons as to why T-Mobile may not be the choice of carrier for them, a lot of times it's going to be coverage. That's going to be the first topic discussed in the comments, with word of mouth, wherever. Coverage is going to be a big topic in this case. Number 2, and I think this is starting to become a much bigger topic, is the data breach. I moved that to number 2 because the way it happened and the way it unfolded. So yes, I know T-Mobile got a hold of that very quickly. They let everybody know. They investigated the rumor that was out in the media. Then shortly after that, the next day or two, we got info that yes, it was official. It happened. And they worked, I would say, very quickly to get that resolved on their end. Yes, it's a negative to us. I was affected. If some of you who are watching this video were affected, it's bad. There's no other way to put it. It's a sad situation. Information got leaked. It's on the black market. It's just all around a bad scenario. But what T-Mobile did, they got a hold of it very quickly. They made sure that the server was encrypted again, and they started signing partnership deals with two very credible companies to secure the servers and secure everybody, all the customers' information. Here's the negative portion, or the negative part of the whole thing, and why I moved it to number 2. It's the way it happened. It's the fact that the person who hacked the information was able to publicly state that T-Mobile had no security on this information. That he said anybody with basic knowledge and a basic program could have hacked that server. I think that's why I had to move it to number two. And that's going to be a issue for some of you that are with T-Mobile to continue having trust in the company to stay with T-Mobile. And there are now some of you that may have been wanting to switch to T-Mobile that are not going to now because of this incident. I mean, this happened over the last few years several times to T-Mobile. This recent one likely being the biggest by far. So there was a lot at stake. There was phone numbers, social security numbers, first, last name, addresses were floating out there of 47 plus million customers. The only thing T-Mobile confirmed up until this point officially that nobody's credit card information leaked out. That's what they stated. I still have people messaging me that they're claiming that their card info was stolen. I have no way to verify that. That's kind of really hard to do even on your end. If you're starting to see charges out of another state and you live in another state, that doesn't necessarily right away implicate T-Mobile. It could be if you dig down deep, but you could literally go to the gas station, pay at the pump, and somebody steals your information that way. People on this hacking, on the scams, they're very active. The ones that really want to achieve this, they will. They will get to that information by any means necessary. So I think that's why I had to move that to number two, because the hacker was able to publicly state that the information was just floating out there, unsecured, no security. And T-Mobile kind of confirmed that by signing these agreements with the two security companies that they did. I forgot the names of them. I hear they're very credible companies. But the fact that T-Mobile went and signed that agreement with them for multi-year of an investment lets me know that the hacker was likely telling the truth, that there was no security on that server, and that older customers that are no longer with T-Mobile, even their information leaked out. So there's no excuse there. T-Mobile screwed that up, and they'll have to pay for that. That's going to be a pretty hefty fine. From what I'm being told, a couple of sources of mine that are speaking to the lawyers that are involved in the lawsuits are stating that T-Mobile is going to have to pay a very hefty fine because information was leaked that is outside of the coverage that their insurance covered. So they'll be paying a pretty hefty fine in a total lump sum. Now, just backtracking to previous lawsuits, you as the consumer, you likely won't get a lot of money out of this. Previously, I was a part of a class action lawsuit. I got $5 out of it because it was the lump sum was divided by so many people. It was just a couple of dollars that everyone got. So, but T-Mobile, still in all, will pay a hefty fine, and the FCC is also involved. So it's a good thing going forward that T-Mobile is pushing security now, and that they are signing these investment deals into these companies to resecure all the systems, and that the FCC is now involved. And it sounds like T-Mobile is like not scared, but they are a little like, hey, we need to watch it. We can't let this happen. We can't let our perception change to the public of our image, our brand image. So that's why I moved that to number two. I wanted to cover that just a little bit more extensive because I know a lot of you are still concerned, but not to be too blunt, but if you have received that email and you were a part of that hack, I'm sorry to tell you, your information is out there. If I were you, I would freeze my credit. Make sure you change your PIN on T-Mobile, change your password for your login to your account. And that's probably the best you could do for now. and then hopefully they don't do anything with the information, or maybe it ends up getting lost. Who knows? But the information is out there if you were affected by the hack. So the next thing I wanted to discuss, another reason why T-Mobile may not be the carrier for you, is bigger venues, in building sufficient coverage, bigger buildings, and public transportation. That's something that I wanted to cover because that was something, just very briefly, that Verizon and AT&T put a big emphasis on an investment during the LTE era, such as public transportation, subways in the bigger cities. They travel underground. Verizon and AT&T put forth a lot more investment to cover these areas, DAS systems in the bigger malls, the bigger buildings. Instead of covering up and down with nearby macros, you put sufficient DAS systems in these big buildings to cover it much better. Vegas, perfect example, inside the hotels, DAS systems. T-Mobile generally, as of today, even after 18 months after the merger, does not cover these places very well just yet. That's going to take a more multi-year investment approach to get that done. We're talking airports. Instead of covering from the outside in from macros, you have to get inside and put DAS systems, and that's going to cost a lot of money, a lot of an investment to get that progress moving forward. So that's what I put at number 3. I really think that that's a big weak point for T-Mobile. Kind of ties in, I guess, with the coverage as well. But a lot of people still see that at the bigger venues, concerts, stadiums, arenas, T-Mobile is not 100% there. And this goes for professional and college. We're talking bigger college games like Alabama versus LSU at the big stadiums. Unless T-Mobile places temporary equipment, cows, sell on wheels, 9 times out of 10, they likely don't perform very well. We've seen it. If you've watched that video, it came out a couple of weeks back. I know it's the AT&T stadium, but T-Mobile generally did not perform well inside of the Dallas Cowboys home stadium. AT&T performed much better, and I know it's the AT&T stadium, but that is the case even at other stadiums as well. Not just that one. That was just an example. But T-Mobile does lack that indoor coverage in bigger buildings and urban environments like the bigger cities like Chicago, New York, the skyscrapers. T-Mobile generally doesn't do well inside those buildings. And they still don't in many cases. I know in some cases they're going to get DAS systems that they'll take over from Sprint. And then, yes, now they have capabilities of spending more to build that out. But that's not something they generally discuss. It's not something that analysts generally ask at these investor conferences. They don't say, hey, Neville, what's up with indoor coverage? When are we going to put DAS systems at the Mall of America or the Cowboy Stadium? You never really hear about that too much at these analyst conferences. And I think the consumer has a right to know because it's something that Verizon and AT&T have been able to sufficiently do over the years. Yes, there are still some bigger buildings, malls that they don't even cover, but they usually have a pretty good understanding as to when a DAS system is really required in some of these bigger stadiums, arenas. Verizon is at the forefront. There are 25 NFL stadiums now that have millimeter wave on board. And that really can only be achieved with putting it inside of the stadium. So I'm getting some pretty good feedback on that. That a couple people that I know are at the stadiums and they're telling me that their devices are flying with all the people in the stadium, pulling over a gig on millimeter wave. That's essentially what millimeter wave is really meant for, handling that large of a crowd with ease without having to be too slow. Even 100, 200, 300 would still be plenty for all the people at the stadium at the same time. Same at a concert. So those are really the three topics that I wanted to cover. One was the coverage. That may still be a big reason why T-Mobile may not be the choice for you. The second one now has to be the data breach, because it's happened so often over the years, and this most recent one was quite severe. So I had to throw that one in there. And then three, it's the in building coverage, and then the public transportation, such as the subways, the underground subways. It's apparent that T-Mobile lacks at some of the stations. They don't have the DAS systems underground to provide coverage, and I know that's the case for Verizon and AT&T too. But in large part, during LTE, they made bigger investments towards that to cover that more at a scale versus T-Mobile. So T-Mobile overall has some catching up to do. If you haven't seen my why T-Mobile may be the carrier of choice for you, I will leave that in the description down below. If you are new to the channel, but that's just my review that I wanted to give you guys, letting you know my reasons why and why not. And I think they're very, very summarized, very brief, but very valid points. Just three of them on each of the videos. And I think coverage, data breach, and the indoor and public transportation solutions, that's something that T-Mobile will have to focus on and invest for that to become a positive reason why you may be able to join T-Mobile. And it's not going to take a rocket scientist to figure it out. If coverage is your problem, why you're not with T-Mobile, and then they put sites and they expanded, well then guess what? It does now. T-Mobile becomes a choice to you, and you may like the deal that they offer or the plan or the pricing that they offer better than the carrier that you're currently with. So let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this. Again, if you are new to the channel, part 1 will be in the description box below, so you guys can check that one out too. If you have been on the channel or you are new to the channel and you have not yet liked, shared, subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Trust me, I know YouTube is behind on that. I don't know what the deal is with the notification system. I follow some YouTube channels. I don't get the notification until 4 days after. So make sure to follow my social media outlets as well. I do post videos on the Twitter if you can, if you have it. And make sure you push notifications on Twitter. Twitter is much, much better at pushing out notifications. Thanks again for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.